appearance.
I heard they had an automech read those lines because the actors were afraid of offending the chairman.
Far too many people are comparing Obsidian and their latest game, The Outer Worlds, to Bethesda and their latest game, Fallout 76. This needs to stop. Here's why. The Outer Worlds is a single-player action-adventure role-playing game developed by Obsidian Entertainment, published by Private Division, and running on the Unreal Engine. The game delivers exactly what it advertises and not a bit less. In fact, it goes beyond its base promises. Sure, you can customize your character, distribute perks and skill points, level up, talk to people, make new friends, make new enemies, and explore a well-designed world, similar to many RPGs. As far as gameplay goes, the combat is passable, it's pleasant. It won't make you sit on the edge of your seat, but it won't make you wince every time you have to fire your gun or swing your hammer. If you've played any recent FPS shooter game, this won't impress you. Where this game truly shines and stands out as one of the greats is the incredible story and world it depicts and draws you into. The phrase, "a compelling story," is tossed around a lot when it comes to games, but more often than not, it is used in reference to merely good stories. A lot of games have good plots, but very few games truly compel you to interact and engage and to keep returning to the narrative, even when the gameplay isn't anything innovative. The Outer Worlds is precisely one of those few. Obsidian, and Obsidian alone, developed the incredibly intriguing plot, RPG mechanic-focused gameplay, and exceptionally well-crafted world that the Outer Worlds offers. So why then do many content creators, specifically a large number of those on YouTube, continue to compare Obsidian to one other specific game developer, to one other specific series? Why are these comparisons being made, and to what benefit? Well, I have an opinion on that answer, and it definitely is not a popular one. Before you furiously type in the comments reminding me of Obsidian's role in the Fallout franchise, let me save you the effort. Yes, I'm aware that some members of Obsidian previously worked on the original isometric Fallouts. What it appears people often forget is that Interplay Productions was the name of the developer for that title, not Obsidian. In the literal decades that followed, basically ancient history in video game development time, Interplay faded into the far background of the industry, and a handful of people from that group eventually made their way to Obsidian, where an even smaller percentage of that original handful ultimately worked on the Outer Worlds. So, just to recap, the only connection we have at the moment is that a few people worked on a 2D isometric game called Fallout in the early 1990s that also worked on a 3D first-person game called The Outer Worlds roughly 25 years later. Notice how Bethesda still hasn't entered the picture yet. Now hold on. I know you're cracking your knuckles ready to furiously chastise me for not remembering one of the greatest RPG games of a generation, Fallout New Vegas, but don't worry, I've got you covered. Remember that handful of people from the 90s who worked on Fallout under Interplay? Well, after Bethesda Softworks purchased the Fallout IP in 2004, they approached that small handful of people from the 90s and asked if they would be interested in creating their take on the 3D Fallout formula. However, almost simultaneously, Bethesda was developing tools, assets, engine upgrades, and more for their own vision as well, Fallout 3. So, essentially, Obsidian was given access to these resources, which took care of many areas of game development as a whole, and allowed Obsidian to concentrate on what they do best, storytelling. So, let's recap. A small handful of people at Obsidian worked on a game which shared the same franchise as a game made by Bethesda, bringing to life two different, but objectively enjoyable, visions of Fallout, much to the delight of role-playing game fans way back in 2010. And then, after production ceased on Fallout New Vegas and its DLCs, Obsidian and Bethesda parted ways, took two different paths on the game dev road. No mentionable collaboration since 2011. Yet here we are, nearly a decade later, comparing the two like Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. Both offer good stuff, Both do it in their own way, yet for some reason we can't let both just exist in peace without starting fights about it.
Seriously, don't get yourself killed.
The Outer Worlds is a great game, but it has nothing to do with Bethesda, nothing to do with Fallout. So to continuously compare the two only serves to disrespect Obsidian's efforts to producing their own unique story, world, and mechanics. Furthermore, developers at Obsidian have expressed their disappointment for the constant usage of their game to tear down Bethesda and their work. That's not to say that it's impossible to compare The Outer Worlds to other role-playing games. It most certainly can be done. But the similarities aren't just unique to Bethesda's titles. It's incredibly naive to presume that Bethesda and Obsidian are the only two companies to create RPGs with perks, skill points, companions, dialogue, interactive worlds, etc. Many others have done the same. So if you insist on drawing comparisons, maybe branch out a bit to truly understand how The Outer Worlds stacks up in the genre. And if you insist on criticizing Bethesda's games and its choices as a company, judge them on their own actions. Don't drag someone else into the fight just because they were minding their own business at the other end of the bar.